This is where this story begins. Well, I'm just kidding. This story actually began a couple days ago with me going to the dentist, and that was rad. Then I set out to take a trip to NAB. Along the way, my intention was to discuss a lot of the different products. By the way, now I am at Vegas in the world's finest RV parking lot next to what I think might be the world's busiest freeway. I did talk about cameras along the way, so let's start then. Okay, so here's been my first challenge today, is just getting out of the Bay Area, right? So I thought I'd left in plenty amount of time, but then I made a stop along the way, and now I am in Sacramento traffic. When I get to Sacramento, I'm going to head east up at elevation, Lake Tahoe, and then I was going to turn south Lake Tahoe, go down to 395. I was going to try to make it all the way up on top of like Mammoth Mountain. Not sure which big mountain that is, but June Lake that's up on the top of that hill. I was going to try to make that tonight, and then from there camp there tonight, and then in the morning head down to Death Valley and kind of cut east through Death Valley over to Las Vegas. I don't think that's going to happen because of all this traffic. I thought I'd left in plenty amount of time, but it is almost 5 p.m. right now. I'm not even to Sacramento yet, and it's telling me, my navigation's telling me I'm going to get into Lake Tahoe at about 7:30. So I might have to stay at Lake Tahoe tonight, but we'll see. Okay, so now this traffic is breaking free just a little bit. I'm going to use that as a segue to discuss the first category of things or company that what I would like to see at NAB. Now, this may or may not be of any interest to you, but I know it is to a lot of people. And I would like to see an American alternative to DJI drones. And the reason I want to see that is really a couple-fold. One is, if you use drones on the daily like I do, and you hang out in the commercial photography groups, a lot of pilots in these groups are, they're doing survey work and they're, doing things like that. And I'm flying daily under a Windows 7 for real estate. Now, DJI and their drones, especially their consumer-facing drones, I don't think anybody has any fantasy that they aren't the best ones out there. I mean, they really are, right? But there are two problems. One is the DJI software that they have on board with all of these modern drones locks them down regardless of whether you have the authority and the clearance to operate in whatever airspace you're in. So in order to unlock a certain, let's say a restricted airspace of some sort, you actually have to do two steps, because you have to do one step with the local authorities to be able to get clearance for that airspace, and then you have to do the other step within the DJI software. So that wouldn't be such an issue if the DJI software worked all the time, but it doesn't. So that's one reason why I would love to see an American competitor to DJI. There really isn't one right now. And the second reason is because, for whatever reason, our government, the United States government, has a real vendetta against DJI as a company. And this is kind of always floating around Congress, threatening to rear its head again. They don't want, it's because DJI is Chinese, and they don't want any kind of Chinese tech in the hands of American consumers, because they are concerned about what that tech could be doing and collecting, from a national security perspective. So for all of those reasons, I would like to see a company step up, a company that's consumer facing, I should say, step up, because there are things that you can get in the more pro environment, and I understand that's what NAB is anyway, but I'm talking about ones that people like myself would have no problem justifying the expense for my business, right? I can spend $1, $2, $3, $5,000 on a drone and justify that for my business. I can't spend $20,000, $30,000 plus on some of these commercial platforms, that the guys that are doing surveying and such are using. I can't justify that for my business. So I would love to see a competitor to DJI.
Travel the world together, babe. Travel the world together.
Now, by the time I got up to the Sierra, there was a lot less traffic. And if you've never been to this part of the country, it is incredibly difficult to overstate how beautiful and majestic it is. By the time I got into Tahoe proper, the sun was going down, just about setting, and then by the time I got all the way over the pass and down and saw the lights of Carson City, the sun had set. I was at about 6400 ISO on the R5C, so don't let anybody tell you that the R5C isn't any better in low light than the A7S III. That just isn't true. So right now, I am in Tonopah. I think you pronounce it Tonopah, Nevada. The wind is, you might even be able to see it rocking rocking the RV. To say that this place is remote is a massive understatement. There's maybe, I don't know, like in the town proper, a couple thousand people. It's way out in the middle of the desert. It's very creepy. Like the hills have eyes, kind of creepy. What doesn't make it better is there's actually, and I'm not even making this up, I might go back and get some pictures of it, maybe on the way back. There's actually a clown motel. And after I passed it and thought, wow, that's creepy, it's not making this place look any better, I looked it up, and apparently this clown motel is where the haunted clown spirits of the local silver miners are supposed to come out and play. And so it's kind of a tourist thing. You come to Tonopah, and you do the haunted clown thing. So anyway, one thing that I was thinking about as we're going on our tour of what I would like to see at NAB, as I'm out here, deserts are beautiful. I've always loved deserts. The colors are just so soft in a desert. And that got me to thinking about all the different cameras and the color sciences of them. One of the ones that I think everybody enjoys the colors of is Fujifilm. I am interested this year in buying a medium format camera. I probably will this year. If I don't buy the Canon R1, I'll probably buy a medium format camera. Don't know yet whether that is going to be a Fuji or a Hasselblad. There aren't many options out there for like a modern digital medium format system. Fuji, I think, very smartly has avoided the full frame market. They do APS-C bodies, they do medium format bodies. Because Canon and Sony, and now maybe Nikon with the inclusion of red, and that'll be interesting to see what that is presented like at NAB. That's one of the things I'm interested to see there. Fuji has smartly stayed out of that market because I don't think they could be competitive in it. Now, having said that, there certainly is a lot of tech with Fuji. They're using Sony sensors, and so I'm not discounting that they may not get into it. What are they going to do at NAB? I don't think a darn thing. Since we mentioned Nikon and red, let's talk about that a little bit. It's been exhausted to death online. I understand that whole conversation. However, it'll be interesting to bend the ear of some of those representatives and see what they say. about things. And if I make any content around that, I'll be sure and get that on film for you too. But I think Red is going to continue to be Red, and Nikon's going to continue to be Nikon. That's what I honestly think about that partnership. I think Nikon did not buy Red for the patent. And in fact, Jared, the president of Red, Jared Land, has said as much, or implied as much anyway, in a live stream that he did with Scott Balcom a couple months ago when all of this was coming to a head. And he said, look, here's what people don't realize about this patent. Anybody who, any company that you've heard of that's a big company has already bought license for it from us. Okay, now, they may or may not have developed that into their products, but everybody who matters already has a license for it. So I thought that was pretty interesting coming from Jared, and it kind of further reinforces that I don't think Nikon bought Red for that patent. So I think the real winner in that deal is obviously Nikon. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Red, I don't think Red was struggling. I think that some of the founders and key people of Red want to retire someday, and so they cashed out. Well, that's fine. That's within their rights to do. But I think the real benefactor there in that deal is Nikon, and Nikon is going to get the sensor tech. Nikon is going to get the processing, right? So it's not easy, I would imagine, to do things that a Red camera does. Hey, there's a tumbleweed. All right. I lost my train of thought because I saw a tumbleweed. I need desert music, man. This makes me want to watch the new Fallout series. So let's talk about what Blackmagic revealed yesterday. And this is actually, I consumed this content as I was driving through the desert, and it kept me entertained for a couple hours. A lot of crazy things. I think the one that is going to get the most traction amongst creators is I don't know if they pronounce it Pixies or Pixis, but the Pixis camera that is a box style Cinecam. I didn't bring the Komodo with me. I've got the C70 right here. It looks to be a little bit bigger than a KX, maybe about a Sony FX6 or such kind of shape and form factor. Screen on the side, 6K sensor. I would imagine it would be the same 6K sensor as the most recent camera shaped like this that they did. The Cinema 6K. You know what? As a matter of fact, since we're here talking about this, I'm glad they actually called it something. They're calling it Pixis, not whatever their nomenclature BMCCMPCMC does. So I think it's probably the same sensor as the L-mount full frame pocket camera that they recently did, which has some drawbacks. It has some drawbacks as far as the speed of the sensor is really the biggest one. And if I get in front of a Blackmagic rep at NAB, because that's where I am now, is waiting for NAB exhibit hall to open tomorrow, I'm going to ask him exactly that. I'm going to say, is this the same sensor as the 6K camera that you recently released? And I'm also going to ask if it does anything different as far as controlling IR, because IR pollution is one of those things that Blackmagic cameras traditionally have been very poor at controlling. Let's talk about the elephants in the room, and that is Sony and Canon. And are they going to release anything at NAB 2024? I would bet no. I would bet no with both companies. If Sony were to do anything, I don't think they would release a mirrorless style camera. I think we've seen all of those for a little while. I think they would probably release a second version of an FX6 camera. And that would be huge. I mean, that would be hugely exciting. But I don't think we're seeing anything from Sony. Maybe a lens. I know they have an announcement coming up in a couple weeks, which is whatever else it is. Now, Canon's a bit different in that we know that there are Canon products, the ones that are known to us that are coming down the pike. There's the R1, there's the R5 Mark II, there's the R5C Mark II. There is all kinds of lenses that we hope will happen at some point, and we'll get into that with some of these other manufacturers too. I don't think this is the right forum really for Canon to make big announcements outside of the broadcast world. And so, you know, if there's some kind of ENG lens or something like that, you know, maybe they'll actually have their zoom motors to purchase now. I don't think you can get them yet. So I don't think Canon's really going to be doing anything significant at NAB. Lighting is another one of those things where obviously companies like Aperture have been market disruptors. And I saw their new product, you know, that looks like a blow up pool floaty thing. Their Infina matte bar. You know, it looks like a waterbed, like up on its side that glows. It's probably for larger productions, you know, because I think they have like a 20-foot by 20-foot one, which is crazy. I mean, I would love to play with one of those and park somebody right in front of it and see how soft they can get. They're going to look like they're, you know, 15 years younger than what they actually are. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Hey, looking forward to getting into NAB. I am going to bring probably the R5C with me and just an on-camera mic like what's recording me right now. And get in front of some of these representatives in these companies and ask them some good questions, hopefully. Ask them maybe some tough questions. If you have anything that you want me to ask them, you know, this is a good time to leave a comment down below and let me know what types of products you are interested in, and I'll do my best to say, hey, this question is from, so that way if it's a, you know, if it's an asshat kind of thing, I can blame you and not myself. So anyway, I will see you in part 2 of this video, which is going to be a few days from now, as I have then consumed the show, and I'm going to take some other footage and stuff on my trip back. But till then, take care. I'll see you.